morning, I'm Pauline Verzosa. It is Friday, the 22nd of May, and we're bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Now, first on the agenda, senators exchange sharp remarks and push competing calls for investigation and security reforms following last week's shooting incident inside the Senate complex. Mobile journalist Merimon Reyes has this report.
Walang isa sa inyo na makusta sa akin. Some of you I've known for 20 years.
10 years! And I didn't even hear any of you say, kamusta na kayo dyan?
An emotional Senator Pia Cayetano took to the session floor on Wednesday her recollection of the shooting incident inside the Senate complex last week. This followed manifestations and speeches of Senate Minority Bloc members pushing for an independent and deeper investigation of what actually transpired in the incident. Yesterday, Senator Ping Lacson took a swipe at Cayetano's statement. He wrote, quote of the day, "Wala man lang nangumusta sa amin," followed by asking how one could even check on people who seemed happily eating, drinking coffee, and even going on Facebook Live while accusing the minority of supposedly knowing about the gunfires. Lacson also posted about how he was double relieved for no longer being the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee chairman, replaced by Cayetano. Meanwhile, according to Senator Erwin Tulfo in a phone call with the media, as they await for either a specific committee or a committee of the whole to do the legislative inquiry, with others also rooting for independent fact-finding bodies. What also matters now is an overhaul of security protocol.
Doon po sila nakapokus na doon sa lugar na parang anino ho yata pinagbabaril nila, parang kulang po sa training. And ito po ay awakening po sa security sa Senate mismo na may problema.
Tulfo reiterated that minority members did express concern in the Senator's group chat, with him even praying for the safety of everyone still inside the Senate during the shooting incident. He mentioned Cayetano may not have had the time to see the messages due to the panic in the situation. In other Senate matters, Tulfo also shared that the all-member Senate caucus last Wednesday discussed the initial schedule of the Senate as both an impeachment court and legislative body. The trial proper is set to begin on July 6 pre-SONA. Regular sessions will be held in the morning before proceeding to the impeachment in the afternoon of Monday, and to be continued at 3 o'clock in the afternoon onwards of Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Thursdays will be for committee hearings and session, while Fridays will also be for other legislative matters. Given this, pre-trial matters may take place in the month of June. Meanwhile, Tulfo opposed the proposed Senate Rules Amendment of Senator Rodante Marcoleta, which allows Senator Bato Dela Rosa, facing an international criminal court arrest warrant, to vote remotely in the impeachment proceedings.
I think pag dinala po sa floor yan, hindi rin po lulusot yan dahil talagang sa minority po, sigurado po ako ay hindi po boboto yan.
According to a majority bloc senator, while the motion was already referred to the Committee on Rules, which is yet to have a chairman to keep the ball rolling, Dela Rosa still cannot participate virtually in plenary sessions and the impeachment trial. According to the Senate rules, the Senate President may convene and hold a session through teleconference, video conference, or other reliable forms of remote or electronic means due to force majeure or the occurrence of national emergencies that may prevent the convening of the Senate or the physical presence of its members in the session hall. Kapatid Mobile journalist Merimon Reyes, we are One News.
Well, Senator Erwin Tulfo said senators serving as impeachment judges should decide based on the evidence presented during the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. In an interview with The Big Story, Tulfo stressed that voting out of personal hatred, friendship, or political alliance would be wrong. He also opposed the proposal to allow online voting for senators during the trial.
Hindi naman siguro maganda yon na you will vote because you're an ally or you're in the opposition, you do not like the person. And kasalanan ni siguro yon, ladies, na you will make your decision because you hate the person or because you're a close friend or an ally or supporter. I believe that the right way as a judge is like you vote, you make a decision based on the pieces of evidence submitted before you, so that you can make the right decision. Itong hindi naman guilty, why will you? Kasalanan naman siguro sa Diyos yun at makikita ng tao na you give your verdict na guilty, wala namang evidence. Masama din naman if there's hard and sufficient evidence to convict and then you will acquit the person. Parang hindi yata tama. So the way I look at it right now is that you always have to rule based on the evidence submitted to you. Like even as journalists, we don't conclude as commentators unless we hear both sides, the accused and then the one accusing. So we get both sides, and then that's how we react. We write our story.
Well, the Department of Justice has ordered the arrest of Senator Bato Dela Rosa after the Supreme Court rejected his appeal to stop the warrant from the ICC. Mobile journalist Arles de los Santos has this report.
A day after the Supreme Court rejected Senator Bato Dela Rosa's plea to prevent his arrest by the International Criminal Court, the Justice Department has given the go signal for it to be served. Dela Rosa had requested the High Tribunal to stop any arrest or enforcement actions linked to the ICC warrant. But with the SC's denial of the legal relief on May 20, Acting Justice Secretary Frederick Vida believes any legal barrier to Senator Bato's manhunt is out.
The Philippine law enforcement agencies, which would include the PNP, the National Bureau of Investigation, are now tasked to effect the arrest of Senator Bato Dela Rosa. Senator Bato is fugitive from justice, and he should be brought to the ICC to face the charges before him.
The ICC ordered Dela Rosa's arrest after being named as a co-perpetrator in former President Rodrigo Duterte's case in the Netherlands. Digong is accused of crimes against humanity over alleged extrajudicial killings and other abuses during his very own drug war. Bato first went into hiding on November 2025 and was not publicly seen until May 10 of this year. Then last Monday, May 11, he reappeared at the Senate to back Alan Peter Cayetano's election as Senate President. Dela Rosa stayed in the upper chamber for a few days under the protective custody given to him by his colleagues. But hours after the chaotic Senate shooting incident on May 13, Dela Rosa walked out of the Senate complex and was not seen since. So how can local law enforcement arrest the senator now?
Alam niyo po yung mga law enforcement agencies natin, trained po yan pa yan. Alam nila may standard operating procedure, meron yung mga intel gathering, intel analysis, counter-intelligence measures that they will pursue. And they are expected to pursue this.
Another important question which Vida did not address directly. Once arrested, will Dela Rosa be immediately brought to The Hague, as what happened when former President Duterte was arrested in March of 2025?
These are operational matters that I cannot discuss so that we don't defeat the purpose of the arrest, which is the ultimate objective is to bring him to the ICC.
Under the Philippine Law, Republic Act 9851, or the Domestic International Humanitarian Law to be exact, the government is allowed to surrender suspects to international courts. But it gets complicated under Articles 59 of the Rome Statute. This provision states that an arrested suspect should be brought first before a competent judicial authority before they can be surrendered to the ICC. This is to ensure that due process and the arrested's rights are respected. But now that the Philippines had withdrawn from the Rome Statute, does this provision still apply to Senator Dela Rosa? It does, according to several legal luminaries, since the ICC probe into the Duterte war on drugs covered years before the withdrawal. Another question, what are the legal risks to those who will help Bato evade arrest?
Kaya nananawagan po tayo. We need a closure on this one. Those who might be aiding or abetting or helping Senator Bato evade the law, there are consequences. Alam natin na sa panuntunan ng rule of law may pananagutan. Pinagtago, hindi lamang po sa mata ng batas ng Pilipinas, pati rin po sa batas ng ICC.
When asked for comment on the DOJ's pronouncement, Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla in a text message said his agency and the PNP will implement the order according to their mandate. PNP Chief Police General Jose Melesio Nartates also said the police force will abide by the DOJ's directive. Nartates also assured that the PNP will be fair and respectful of Dela Rosa's rights as a senator.
May sapat na numero ang specific na unit ng Philippine National Police para i-effect ang isang warrant of arrest kahit kanino man ito man ay maging senador o hindi man. Ang particular na unit na magsasagawa po nito ay ang CIDG.
For its part, Malacanang assured that government will abide by the law in enforcing the arrest warrant for Dela Rosa. Senator Bato's lawyers have yet to comment on the DOJ's order, but it did promise to file a motion for reconsideration before the Supreme Court that will keep the ICC warrant at bay for their client. Kapatid Arles de los Santos, we are One News.
A satirical online game inspired by Senator Bato Dela Rosa is now making the rounds online. Titled Senate Run, the browser-based minigame draws from CCTV footage of Dela Rosa running from the Senate parking lot to the stairwell on May 11. And at the time, National Bureau of Investigation agents were reportedly trying to serve his ICC arrest warrant. The game was created by independent app builder Jopel, who first shared it on TikTok. And in the game, players control a stylized version of Dela Rosa, dodging agents and jumping over obstacles inside hallways inspired by the Senate. And the goal? To reach a getaway vehicle before getting caught. Don't go away. We will be back with more stories after this break. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. As extreme heat drives water levels down across key dams, Upper Wawa Dam is stepping in as a new source of support for supply. Mobile journalist Ivan Terinque has this report.
The last several weeks have been a scorcher for many. It's no wonder that water use have been heavy for bathing, washing, cooking, and drinking. But it looks like it's time to stock up on the precious commodity. With extreme heat bringing water down to critical levels in 6 dams in Western Visayas, 8 Luzon dams have also posted levels below normal. Water level at Angat Dam in Bulacan, for instance, is now at 176.73 meters. It has officially breached its minimum operating level of 180 meters. Angat Dam supplies over 90% of Metro Manila's potable water. And with not enough water to go around, the first to suffer is the agriculture sector, since NCR's allocation is a priority.
Yung allocation for irrigation is currently nasa mababa po 5 cubic meters per second lang.
Angat Dam along with Magat Dam are also used to generate electricity. But now, these hydroelectric power plants cannot run at full capacity and are largely limited to contributing ancillary services. This means they help stabilize power grid during peak hours rather than generating massive, continuous baseload electricity.
Depende po kasi yan sa sa kung gaano po karami yung generate po nung kung significant ba yung generate na kuryente galing doon sa hydroelectric power. Halimbawa po dito sa kung yung component na ngayon ang sinusupply, ang priority kasi ng Angat is domestic talaga.
But Angat now has reinforcement. The newly opened Upper Wawa Dam in Montalban, Rizal. It has a supply capacity of 710 million liters per day, and its reservoir storage is 120 million cubic meters in a 262 square kilometer watershed area. Wawa is expected to unload from Angat water supply responsibility for at least 700,000 households in Rizal and Metro Manila's East Zone.
For the last 50 years, as mentioned, we only rely on Angat Dam. So when Upper Wawa is commissioned or completed, we have an additional of 500 million liters per day of supply.
At the moment, total consumption in the area is still estimated at 510 million liters per day. Upper Wawa Dam has 4 water pumps running 24/7, so distribution is continuous across water treatment facilities. There are also 2 additional backup pumps in case of emergency. Upper Wawa Dam is also designed to help control flooding in Rizal and Metro Manila when the rainy season comes.
Help control the rush of flow in our downstream communities.
Kapatid Mobile Journal Ivan Terinque, we are One News.
Well, Pagasa said the rainy season in the Philippines may start in the last week of May or the first week of June. The Weather Bureau said it is still monitoring rainfall and wind direction before officially declaring the wet season. Pagasa also noted that easterlies continue to affect the country's weather system. Meanwhile, Filipinos may experience more afternoon and evening thunderstorms in the coming weeks. Right, and joining us this morning is Dr. Mahar Lagmay, Executive Director of Project NOAA, to discuss preparations for the upcoming rainy season and disaster readiness efforts across the country. Good morning, Dr. Lagmay, and welcome to Morning Matters.
Good morning.
All right,
I
first
just
of
woke
all,
up. I have jet lag, so sorry, I can't open my video. Thank
no
you.
worries, Doctor. Thank you still for joining us here on the program. Let's start with the Philippines now approaching the rainy season. How would you assess our current level of preparedness?
Well, it's always been continuous preparations for the Filipino people, but my assessment is that our problem is really huge. Well, come the rainy season, we always have to prepare for a lot of typhoons, cyclones, I mean. And what's happening is that when there are weather disturbances, there's a lot of rain that is dumped and it causes flooding. In Metro Manila, it's going to be very difficult because it's a highly urbanized area, overpopulated, overcrowded. There's a lot of concrete, and management of the floods is really very difficult. So we are to expect floods, and the floods need to be managed. Our preparations really are geared towards reducing the amount of floods so that it won't cause a lot of suffering by doing a lot of preparations. Like right now, we have this Oplan kontra baha. We are dredging the rivers so that the capacity of the rivers can increase to reduce the floods so that it will be manageable. We're trying to shift from the term flood control to flood management because the flood problem is really big. In terms of risk reduction, we have been able to reduce the fatalities from flood impacts. We have been successful on that. It used to be about 1,250 per year on average in terms of deaths. We have been able to reduce that to about 200 to 250 on average per year. So
But
that's
so far,
my brief answer. Sorry.
yes.
Yeah.
But so far, Pagasa has warned that the southwest monsoon or habagat may actually coincide with a super El Nino from June to August. How dangerous is this combination, sir? And what kind of weather impacts should Filipinos brace for in the coming months?
All right. So we have the super El Nino in this part of the world, particularly in the Philippines. That means that the super El Nino is equivalent to less rain. The opposite is La Nina, which is more rain. We have just come from a La Nina episode, so we now are entering into this El Nino phase, and that's a super El Nino. That means that we'll have, on average, less rain. That's the simple explanation for that. But that's not to say that cyclones won't happen, that typhoons won't happen, severe weather disturbances won't happen. That means that we also have to prepare. It's just that in the entire year, the average amount of rain will be less. So we still have to prepare. That's the thing that we always have to do. We are in the Philippines, and we are supposed to expect weather disturbances, and we should always be prepared for floods and the other severe weather-related hazard impacts.
And sir, based on your assessment, which areas in the Philippines are becoming increasingly vulnerable to flooding and even landslides, and what would be the reasons for that?
We have this thing called climate change. I think everybody has heard about it. The predictions of the climate scientists are that because of this phenomenon called climate change, or there's global warming, we are to expect stronger rains. Because of the stronger rains, we'll have bigger floods, more widespread landslides, more frequent floods and landslides. Storm surges can become higher in terms of their impact or their level, and also stronger winds. We are vulnerable. We are exposed to all of those hazard impacts. There's no part of the Philippines that I know that is free from that type of impact. So we all have to prepare. All Filipinos have to prepare, and we have to prepare hard. And that's because of the increasing impacts of these severe weather disturbances because of global warming.
Well, speaking of disaster preparedness, sir, Project NOAA has repeatedly urged local governments to use maps and science-based planning. But are LGUs actually maximizing these tools already, or are many still resorting to reactive responses when the flooding is already happening?
I know that there are a lot of local government units who have been preparing, have been planning, trying to make use of climate and disaster risk assessment for the local government units. But I yet have to see the majority of the local government units use the NOAA tools for their planning process. Most of the LGUs are using deterministic maps. Those are the worst case scenario maps, but what we really need to prepare for are the bigger events than what we have experienced, so that we can anticipate and we don't get surprised of those type of weather disturbances that are bigger than the historical record. That's what happens when we are unable to anticipate or not prepared for those bigger events. That's when disasters happen. So I yet have to see that. Hopefully, more local government units know these tools. They are found in the NOAA website, noaa.up.edu.ph. These scenarios of hazards, of floods, are probabilistic. They're multi-scenario. That means that there are small events, bigger events, and much bigger events, those that reflect climate change scenarios, so that we can prepare for those events that can surprise us. That's the way to prepare for disasters, and hopefully more local government units do that.
Well, President Bongbong Marcos recently has actually acknowledged that the recommendations from Project NOAA made many, many years ago are only being implemented now, sir. And also, can we say that it's still better late than never? And is there still enough time to catch up given today's climate risks?
Of course, it's never too late if we can save a life. That is something that is a big achievement. So it's better late than never. We can always prepare. We can always make things better, because if we do that, if we try to make use of the science and try to learn from past disasters, this is everything that NOAA has been doing. We're trying to learn from disasters, make recommendations based on those disasters, because we don't want to repeat the same mistakes. If we do that, then we are able to learn and prevent more lives lost, lives from being lost, because we remember the mistakes and we don't repeat them. That is what NOAA is all about, and those are the recommendations that the president was talking about.
And sir, are there any new tools or updates from Project NOAA this year that the public should watch out for? What are some of your project expansions or improvements, especially now that your budget was restored this year with 1 billion pesos?
That's right. We are embarking heavily on the use of AI tools. there's a lot of work being done trying to maximize AI for the prediction of floods and for the management of floods. That's one. We have this new tool called Bahar. Yeah, it stands for Baha Augmented Reality. So if you use your cell phone, it's available for Android and iOS. You can use the camera and see whether there's a flood that can happen in your area. Right now, it's available for iOS, for iPhones and Android, and it has data for UP Diliman. We're expanding it to Quezon City and soon the Philippines. So hopefully it will be out before the rainy season.
And finally, sir, for people living in flood-prone communities, what practical steps and advice would you give families to stay safe during this rainy season?
The first step is trying to be aware or try to be aware of the information that's available in your neighborhood. Awareness is the first step towards disaster preparedness. So please take a look at the NOAA website. You will be able to see whether there's a landslide, a flood, or a storm surge hazard problem in your neighborhood. So please look at that, because once you know that there's a problem regarding a certain type of hazard, you will be able to prepare correctly and prepare accordingly. Without knowing that there's a hazard in your area, you will not be able to solve well the problem. So please look at the website, know the hazards in your neighborhood, not just for your house, but also for the school where your children goes to, for the office where the family goes to, the father goes to, or the mother goes to. When you are aware, you are better prepared.
All right. Well, very, very important reminders there. Thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. That was Dr. Mahar Lagmay, Executive Director of Project NOAA. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for inviting.
Right now, do stay tuned. Morning Matters. We'll be back after this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. You are still watching Morning Matters here on One News. All eyes are on the Senate, where two major political developments are now taking shape. The Justice Department has ordered law enforcement to arrest Senator Bato Dela Rosa after the Supreme Court rejected his bid to block the ICC arrest warrant. The DOJ now calls him a fugitive from justice, while the DILG and PNP say they will follow the arrest order. Meanwhile, the Senate is eyeing July 6 for the start of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial. And House prosecutors say they are now preparing their evidence, witnesses, and strategy for the 4 articles of impeachment. All right, and now to help us make sense of all these developments, we're joined by political strategist Alan Herman himself. Good morning, Alan, and welcome back to Morning Matters.
Thank you, Pauline. Good morning to all of our viewers. It's odd speaking to you in the morning, no? We usually do this at night for the other program.
Exactly. But, you know, Alan, it was another eventful week, to say the least. I mean, just taking a look back at everything that happened, how would you describe the events that unfolded this week?
In a word, chaotic. Absolutely and positively chaotic. I think that institutionally, the Senate took a hit in terms of their reputation, in terms of their credibility. The quick sentiment scan numbers are coming in. We're seeing it. These are quick reads, just to be very open about it. These are not by any stretch of the imagination any sort of a survey or a qualitative assessment, or a quantitative assessment rather, but just based on the overall sentiment scanning, the Filipinos are really bewildered, scratching their heads about what is happening to the August halls, what is happening within the August halls of the Senate. Very, very odd, unprecedented stuff happening there right now.
Well, now let's talk about the DOJ there, ordering now the arrest of Senator Bato Dela Rosa, and DOJ Secretary Frederick Vida calling the senator a fugitive from justice already. Alan, how big is this moment politically?
Actually, if you really review it, number one, first of all, I think it's about time. It's about time that we finally put closure on that, because for a while it was 50-50. Nobody really knew what his status was. I mean, the world viewed the fact that he was running in a stairwell, evading authorities. There was that whole gunfight in the Senate, if it was indeed a fight at all. But at least finally, yesterday, we had closure thanks to the 951 decision of the Supreme Court. However, politically, there are only two things I'm looking at here. You're looking at the Senate Majority Leadership right now, which is hanging on by the hair of its chinny chin chin, the very, very, the slightest of margins. In fact, right now with Senator Dela Rosa gone and remote voting, which was proposed by Senator Marcoleta, that he would still be able to vote regardless of his regardless of his presence, doesn't really make a difference. So right now, the Senate leadership is hanging on a thread of one vote. If the minority actually gets one vote, one yes vote to jump to their side, that will change the makeup of the Senate leadership. So it's that really tenuous, it's that really very, very slim margin, the slimmest of margins, wherein the Senate leadership can change at the drop of a pin. So that's what that entails in terms of the Senate leadership. However, a lot of people are thinking, hey, maybe now that Senator Bato is a fugitive, the impeachment math changes. It does not. Conclusively, the impeachment math does not change. Even if Senator Bato de la Rosa is, for example, brought to The Hague, processed here in the Philippines and brought to The Hague and detained there, that still doesn't change the denominator. The prosecution still needs 16 votes to secure a conviction. Bato de la Rosa being a no vote, effectively a no vote, because that would be considered an abstention. So they still need 16 votes. And let's face it, whether he's here or not, he would have voted to benefit the non-conviction of Vice President Sara Duterte anyway, because of his very obvious and strong political leanings. So it doesn't really make a difference in that sense, because a no vote and a abstention, the ability not to vote, doesn't change the math at all. It's effectively the same.
Alan, quickly, I wanted to go back to the executive. Now that they have already confirmed and ordered law enforcement agencies to effect the arrest of Senator Bato de la Rosa, how significant is this clear position from the executive branch? And in that context, how should the government proceed with the enforcement of the arrest, given that there are still very heightened political tensions surrounding the case?
Well, at least it puts a clear position in as much as a whole of government approach is concerned. For a while there, the optics were very confusing for the public. We had an ICC arrest warrant that was unsealed, but then if the country was riveted and was absolutely glued to their devices, watching this whole Senate drama unfold, and they could see that the NBI seemingly was trying to serve the arrest warrant, while the Secretary of Interior and Local Government, Secretary John Vic Remulla, was ostensibly having a nice merienda, and chit-chatting with the senators right there. So it was really, really cloudy optics. People didn't know. Shortly before the 951 ruling of the Supreme Court, we had the DOJ spokesperson saying that they were taking a softer stance, that even if they saw Senator Bato physically, they would not necessarily enforce that warrant. So at least now that there is finally closure, there is a line has been drawn on the sand, the government should take a whole of government approach in terms of enforcement. The PNP, the NBI, all law enforcement agencies finally have a clear mandate, and the mandate is clear. Arrest him and bring him to the Interpol Manila office, or rather the Philippine Interpol office, and process him and send him to The Hague.
No, No, exactly, because in the past few days, one major criticism from the public that has emerged is the apparent lack of coordination among government agencies. Diba, some are even saying parang walang group chat, hindi nag-uusap-usap yung ating gobyerno, diba? But now that it seems the executive has taken a stronger position, a clear position, what message is that sending now to the camp of the Dutertes, to Senator Bato, Dela Rosa? I mean, we even have Justice Secretary Vida warning that anyone who will be assisting Senator Bato could face consequences. Do you think they should be firm on that they should file even potential cases of obstruction of justice to the allies?
Well, you nailed it on the head for me, Pauline. No? Definitely, this should send a very clear message to those who are or even have helped Senator Bato escape from the Senate premises. So number one, that's a very big sword of Damocles. I know that term gets thrown around a lot, but that should be a big sword of Damocles for those who aided in his in any way, shape, or form in his escape from the Senate. Number one. Number two, I think the biggest effect here would actually be Senator Bongo, who should now be thinking, I have the same arrest warrant. There doesn't seem to be any more legal impediment. Everything has been cleared out, with Senator Bato being the so-called quote-unquote test case on how this would be handled. So now he should also be thinking, wait a minute, the Supreme Court did not uphold the TRO. Senator Bato has been declared a fugitive in very clear terms. So maybe the same thing can happen to me. So it does shake up the dynamics of who is currently the majority in the Senate right now and what would be considered the quote-unquote Duterte side.
But optics-wise, as a political strategist, Alan, what do you make of the strategy here of the defense of Senator Bato de la Rosa? I mean, his lawyers are now arguing that this is all politically motivated. They insist that they should be able to avail all legal remedies, but they're still continuing to question the ICC's jurisdiction. We even heard Attorney Jimmy Bondoc rather saying that the warrant should be served to them. It turns out that's not even allowed under the law, no? So what are you making of their narrative here?
Yeah, Pauline, we're not allowed to laugh at that, no? We might get flamed on the online if we laugh at that statement. But good morning, Seth. But you know, if you cannot defend a position, then defend the process. In fact, we saw this during the prosecution side during the hearings at the lower house, which sadly Vice President Inday Duterte did not attend a single one. No representatives attended. So what was going on in the background was they were not defending their position. They were not defending themselves. They were not offering counterpoints or counter arguments to the points being presented. And you know, there is a saying that technicalities are the refuge, are the last refuge of those who are guilty. There is a saying like that. Not my saying. I did not make that up. But the fact that now it is the process being questioned, it is the being framed as political persecution. Inaapi kami. You know, it's a witch hunt. I think that, you know, logically, the easiest, the lowest hanging fruit would be to present counter arguments if you had them. If there were, in fact, credible, truthful arguments to counter these points, I would think that you would present them or would have presented them already. So this is kind of odd because they asked for this. Vice President herself asked for a chance to defend herself. And I think up to this point, I think it's beyond question that she has been given all of those chances to appear and defend herself and her legal team as well.
Well, over at the Senate, tensions still remain high, especially after last week's events, including the shootout incident. But in your assessment, Alan, how much damage has the Senate's credibility as an institution suffered over the past 2 weeks?
Catastrophic damage in terms of credibility. Well, we measure that ATSP, right? Awareness, trust, satisfaction, and preference or performance. I think that just based on our quick sentiment scan readings, the Senate as an institution, and of course certain senators, have really tanked in terms of acceptance, in terms of their credibility. How can you not? Again, even during times of martial law, even during martial law, this has literally never happened in the Senate. And for a Senate president to assume leadership and every day controversy after controversy, drama after drama, shouting, crying, gunshots, senators running on stairwells, all in the span of 1 week upon assuming leadership, it just does not create any positive optics in any way, shape, or form. It's just one hit after the other, so to speak. In fact, people are calling it the Senate flicks. People are just hanging back and seeing what is the latest episode in this ongoing drama. And when the Senate, an institution like the Senate, is reduced to such, wherein people are saying, ano na namang drama ang meron sa Senado ngayon, that speaks of a very, very strong lack of credibility.
So with that said, Alan, what would it take for the Senate to restore public trust and credibility? Just this week, former Senate President Franklin Drilon has even said that the Senate's privilege has been badly diminished already by all these recent events. So how should the Senate handle this, especially given that one of their own is now being called a fugitive from justice as well?
I think the Senate should, number one, step back. I think the first step is to plug the leak, so to speak. The leak being they're being seen as an institution that coddles and protects based on political lines. I think they should step back immediately from interfering in this Senator Bato investigation. But if I was weighing in on that, I don't think Senator Bato will ever return to the Senate again, right? But that was the crux of the problem. That's what caused this whole thing to come apart at the seams to begin with, because they were seen as an institution that coddles. So they should avoid really showing their obvious political slip. Because they are the majority. We know that the Senate is functionally a political body, but they should not be showing their bias blatantly. That's the first. Number two, they should have a full, credible investigation and finally put closure on this shootout matter. I think that's happening on Monday. So Monday should be an exciting day for the Senate. There's going to be a lot of speeches there. I think that's the second one, of put closure on this thing. And the third, get to work on legislation that will benefit directly the Filipino people during these hard times via the committees. And when they convene as a Senate court, Senate impeachment court, I know that this is sui generis. This is neither a fully legal matter, neither a fully political matter, but at least show respect for the evidence being presented. Don't try to blackball it. Don't try to anybody short. Don't try to curtail any of the prosecution from presenting their evidence. I think that's the best steps. Those are the best steps.
But Alan, do you think the Senate can credibly investigate itself regarding the May 13 incident?
Absolutely not. If it was just entirely up to the Senate, then no. I think they have demonstrated right now, at least what we're seeing right now, just from the Senate. I think that we have seen that drama has actually overtaken evidence in terms of contextually framing this whole shootout. However, there is an assurance that an independent body will be the one, or rather independent bodies. There's an interagency cooperative effort to investigate this. I'm hoping that's going to be credible, that's going to be sound, and based on actual data and facts. CCTV footage is coming out right now. I'm sure our viewers have seen that. I think that was a One News TV5 exclusive, if I'm not mistaken, also with a group chat. But We're seeing exactly the ballistic realities wherein people were firing into empty hallways. I hope all of this is taken into consideration.
And finally, Alan, how are all these developments, from the pending arrest of Senator Bato, Dela Rosa, the Vice President's impeachment trial, the issues that the Senate as an institution is facing right now, how are all these shaping the 2028 landscape?
Wow, that's 2028 is a long time from now. The runway is still far, but I think this will help cement what is known as a ceiling gap for candidates, particularly the vice president, of Sara Duterte, because when she first announced, the impression was she is an unstoppable force. You might as well be fighting a tidal wave with a paddle. There was a lot of that sensibility. There was a lot of that impression, but now we are seeing that 257 members of Congress have voted to impeach her. It was an overwhelm, even more than the first impeachment effort. So we're seeing that perhaps the vice president's approval rating is being hit by a ceiling, and that ceiling is accountability. I think Filipinos are clamoring now for more accountability rather than just taking messaging at face value and just accepting things. Let's just support this candidate. I think people are now more. I'm hoping at least, or at least the numbers seem to show that Filipinos are now quite invested in accountability and making their elected officials accountable to the public.
All right. Well, great insights as always. Thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. That was political strategist Alan Herman. Have a great weekend, Alan. Thank you.
Thanks, Pauline. Thank you so much.
Right. Now, don't go away. We still have more matters to discuss right after this break. Keep it here. Welcome back. You are still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Authorities are checking rice prices and supply as the government monitors the implementation of the price cap. And now let's bring in mobile journalist Fatima Baduria reporting live from Quezon City. Fatima, kamusta na ang sitwasyon dyan?
Pauline, nandito tayo sa Mega Q Mart sa Cubao, Quezon City, kung saan isinagawa yung joint price and supply monitoring ng Department of Agriculture at Department of Trade and Industry. So kanina, inikot itong Mega Q-Mart, tinignan yung mga presyo ng baka, ng baboy, ng manok, kung pasok ba sa SRP ng DA. At so far ay pasok na makita ay kung sumusunod ba yung mga nagtitinda ng bigas doon sa price cap ng 5% broken imported rice na kailangan ay nasa 50 pesos lang yung pinakamataas na yun. Itong klase lang naman ng imported rice, yung may price cap, no? Yung ibang mga imported rice naman ay hindi kasali doon sa price cap na ini-implement dahil nga itong 5% broken imported rice yung pinaka talagang binibili ng mayorya, talagang pangmasa siya, no? Actually, may mga kasama rin kanina from PNP dahil nga kapag hindi sumunod sa price cap ayon sa DA at sa DTI ay pwedeng ma-issuehan ng notice of violation yung mga hindi sumusunod. Alinsunod yan sa Executive Order number 118 na sinimulan noong May 13 last week at magtatagal daw ito for 30 days. No? So talagang mas naghigpit din sila sa pagbabantay dahil pangatlo na nga itong joint monitoring no, ng DA at DTI this week. Usually ay every week itong ginagawa at yung DA naman ay araw-araw din na nagtitingin para sa kanilang bantay presyo no, sa iba't ibang mga palengke. At may nakausap naman tayong nagtitinda. So far, meron pa naman daw tubo dito sa 5% broken imported rice. No? Kaso, 4 pesos lang yung tubo at maliit daw ito dahil nung dati raw ay ang usapan daw nila with DA ay kailangan sa 7 to 8 pesos o pwede nang 7 to 8 pesos yung tubo. Pero ngayon 4 pesos ay talagang nahihirapan daw sila at mas malaki yung kabawasan. Pero titiisin na lang daw muna nila no, for 30 days.
Okay, thank you very much for that report. That was mobile journalist Fatima Baduria. A cultural identity and personal memory come together in the work of Carlyle Nuera, a designer at Mattel who has helped shape Barbie dolls that reflect Filipino heritage on a global stage.
That in just a couple of weeks, I will be with
Long
you.
before his career in toy design, Nuera was influenced by his upbringing and his mother's experience as a beauty pageant winner, which later became a key inspiration for one of his earliest Barbie creations. As his role at Mattel evolved, he focused on representation, highlighting Filipino identity through traditional dresses and storytelling in Barbie designs. Both versions of the Filipino Barbie have since gained strong collector interest and are being celebrated for their cultural significance worldwide. All right, and on to sports. Japan's top professional basketball league is coming to Manila. The B-League will hold preseason games in the Philippines this September, featuring Filipino standouts Dwight Ramos and AJ Edu. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho has this report.
Japan's top professional basketball league is heading to Manila. The B-League will hold preseason games in the Philippines this September, part of its 10th anniversary celebration and the 70th year of diplomatic relations between Japan and the Philippines. The league made the announcement in a press conference yesterday at SM Mega Mall. PBA Commissioner Willie Marshall and B-League Executive Officer Nao Wakamoto both joined the launch.
Why we're here is because 70 years of Japan and Philippines friendship, right? So, and I want to congratulate Japan B-League for having a world-class program and production in the span of 10 years.
I really hope the basketball, power of basketball, connect our bond, make it stronger. That's a very important thing for us. If we could, contribute by the power of basketball, by the power of the B-League, it's quite meaningful for us.
Filipino standouts AJ Edu and Dwight Ramos will take center stage as Edu's Gunma Crane Thunders face Ramos's Levanga Hokkaido on September 9 and 10 at the Mall of Asia Arena. Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas Executive Ryan Gregorio, also present, said Filipino fans rarely get the chance to watch B-League action live, making the event more special.
We are watching B-League only through our platforms, Signal Television, and it's so different if we can witness Filipinos playing together with Japanese playing and also international talents to showcase what they're capable of doing.
After playing in Japan for 4 years, Ramos said he's excited to share the unique B-League experience with Filipino fans.
I'm just looking forward to see how the B-League, every team has their own home arena. They have a nice intro. They have like a show, halftime show, pregame ceremony type of thing. And I'm just excited to see how they're going to bring that into all of Asia if they can do the same thing. So
the B-League will also feature a final week watch party in the Philippines, featuring the championship series between Nagasaki Velka and Ryukyu Golden Kings. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho, we are One News.
And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Kapatid, we are One News. All sides, all the time.